Clutch Sports Talk. Let's go. Good evening, everyone. It's me, your boy, Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk, in the house with another edition of Clutch Sports Talk Live. I got another show, man. I was off last week, had some business I had to take care of, but I am back in the saddle. We got some things I want to talk about. NFL, of course. I got to talk about NBA, some headlines. I got to talk about the Lakers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Mahomes, man. What's going on with them? Also, the Bengals, man. Are they for real? For real, I don't know. So I'll give you my thoughts on that. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This is Clutch Sports Talk Live with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go. I hope you guys will your Sports Live. It's gonna be just last week Tuesday. Before I get started, make sure if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do so now or after the show. I'd appreciate that. And make sure you hit me up on all my social media platforms, which is scrolling down below as the show airs right now live. So I'm back. It's good to be back. You know, every now and then I have to miss a week here or a day there just because I'm a busy dude. But when I get the chance to get back on, man, there's so much stuff that I want to get back and talk to you guys about. So make sure you guys, if you're in the room right now, you're watching, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you drop a comment. Let me know what's up, how you guys doing. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or you just want to say what's up and talk about what's going on, man, I also appreciate that as well. And shout out before I get the show to the even podcast, very good watching, be up to him and my prayers, man, doing all right, your family's all right, man. So hopefully we get to see you live and doing your thing on social media and on YouTube page. So make sure you check them out. It's very Grant doing podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope you watch it, man. Hope you get this. Anyway, I'm gonna keep moving. So first, dropping another game where they just look totally outclassed. This week it's against the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans, man, low key are a dangerous team you don't want to see. Now they do have some flaws, which I'll kind of talk about that here shortly, but they are a perfect team to play and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, why do you say that? Well, they got a guy back there. I don't know if you know him, number 22, Derrick Henry. He's the league leading in rushing yards this year. It's arguably the best running back in football right now. And when you got a guy like that in your backfield, you can keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. And that's exactly what they did. And now Mahomes, has he regressed? A little bit. I think he's still a good quarterback. He's still a great quarterback, nonetheless. But the turnovers, he is pressing a lot. And a lot of it, I feel, is because there's so much pressure on him to make plays down the field where there aren't any plays to be made. Not only are they down in a lot of games, I believe now they've been down 3 out of 4 games, down 14 more points in this year. Where in the last 3 years, they've only been down that many times, 4 times over the last 4 years, right? So they've done that already 3 or 4 times this year. So he's pressing. He's trying to make plays that really aren't there. Instead of making the smart play, which he used to do, he's not doing that. He's still trying to go down the field. And what defenses have been able to do, which, and ironically, you would think that defensive coordinators would have probably thought about this a while ago. But what teams are doing against them now, and if you can watch film on this, is that they're okay with giving the Chiefs the underneath stuff. What you can't allow is the deep plays down the field with Tyreek Hill or even Travis Kelce. What teams have been doing a lot more is because they know they're not going to run the football. So why have an extra guy in the box? So a lot of teams are just bringing out a safety, 2 high safeties, keep everything in front of them. And every now and then, you let Kelce catch the ball, but you're physical with him at the line of scrimmage and you make him work for those yards. Now, are they a good offensive team? They still are, but they don't run the ball. They're not very balanced. And a lot of it has to come through Patrick Mahomes. So therefore, there comes the turnovers. So he had an interception yesterday. He had a fumble yesterday. And then he got hurt towards the end of that game. Hopefully he'll be all right and he'll be ready to go next week. But the fact of the matter is that this team's defense is not even good. They're not even average. They're not even decent. They are below average. And the thing that we've kind of always forgot about them is that their defenses have never been great. They just were good enough. They got stops when they needed to get stops. And now that they're not getting those stops, there's more pressure put on the offense and Patrick Mahomes because it has to come through him. If you take him out of that lineup, and I've said this before, the Chiefs are not even a playoff team. Hell, they may not even be a playoff team with him at this current moment. So they got a lot. And as far as him regressing or not, yes, he's come down to earth this year for sure. And a lot of it is that defenses are getting better at basically identifying what they really want to do and how they want to combat them. Buff the teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers figured that out. Obviously, he didn't have a full offensive line in the Super Bowl when they played, but they had a good scheme against that. You saw the Buffalo Bills come out and do the same thing. And then yesterday, the Tennessee Titans did a tremendous job as well, keeping everything in front of them and allowing them to basically say, you know what, if you're going to score, you're going to have to go on a 5-6 minute drive, and you're going to have to go 80 yards. You're not going to go down the field on us in a minute or two, a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And they don't run the ball effectively. So they're getting more and more 3-and-outs. You're putting your weak defense back on the field once again to go against a guy like Derrick Henry. Now, he didn't have a truly Derrick Henry game, but he had a very solid enough game where they played keep away. Time of possession was definitely in the Titans' favor. Because guess what? They have that luxury. They can do that type of stuff. So as far as the Titans are concerned, they still can't rush the quarterback. But if you got a guy like Derrick Henry you can hand the ball off to, why not? Because guess what? You may not be getting those extra possessions because you're not getting off the field on defense, but you are limiting the amount of touches all the other team's offense get because you're running the ball effectively. And they had several drives that lasted over 4 minutes yesterday. And right now, that's a team you don't want to see. Now, when it gets to the playoffs, will they be able to compete? We've seen in the last couple of years or so, they fall short because they don't have enough defense in the end. So that remains to be seen. We'll see. They're kind of in a dogfight. They got a big game coming up this Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, who had a really good big win last night in San Francisco. I still think the Titans are still going to win that division, but the Colts are looking like they're not going to go away into the night. So, but anyway, as far as the Chiefs are concerned, man, I believe they're last in the division. So they got a lot of work to do if they're going to try to catch up to the Raiders. They should bypass the Broncos because, I think the Broncos are pretty much done. And then the Chargers, who are coming off a bad loss last week, I believe they had a bye this week. So they'll be ready to come off of that bye week and hopefully get another win in that win column. But the Chiefs definitely have an uphill climb, and we're going to have to see what Mahomes can really do because this is the first time right now we've seen in his career that he has gone through some adversity. And how will he combat that? How will he deal with that stuff on the field going on? And then all the stuff off the field with his fiance or his I don't know, his wife, I don't know what she is, and his brother, all the stupidness that goes on with that too. At some point too, you got to be like, hey man, you got to pull him aside and say, look, can you just get off of Twitter? Can you not do the TikToks before the game? Because honestly, it probably fuels other people to come out and beat my brains in even more so, right? So it's kind of like the Jake Paul, Logan Paul type of syndrome where they do stuff to aggravate people and provoke you that you just want to go and smash their heads in. So, but Patrick Mahomes definitely is still a good quarterback, still a great quarterback, one of the best in the league. I'm not going to say he's completely trash because he's not. It's one bad year. And I mean, it's not even that terrible a year. I think it's that the fact of the matter is that we've seen him not struggle so much that when we see him like this, it's actually weird to see him struggle in this fashion. So I think they'll be able to bounce back, but they definitely have to run the football. They got to find a way to run the ball. You can't be so one-dimensional, and that's exactly what they are right now. They are a one-dimensional football team, and it all goes through Mahomes, and that's a problem. You cannot win in this league with one player. It's not basketball. And even in basketball, you need other guys. Patrick Mahomes cannot win the Super Bowl all by himself. The rest of his team has to get on. They got to pick their game up. It's going to be an uphill fight for them to even make the playoffs at this point because they're dead last. So we're going to see what they do. We're going to see what they're made out of here in the next couple of weeks. Will they bounce back? They got the offense too. They got the firepower, but can they slow people down enough and can they protect the football and can they be balanced? Those are the three things that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have to do in order to get back to the Super Bowl, maybe, but hell, get back to the playoffs. So I don't know. We'll see. Moving along, Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I will admit, early on this year, I picked them to be dead last in this division. Boy, was I wrong. They are what? I believe 6-2, if I'm not mistaken. And they had a really quality win on the road, might I say, against one of the hottest teams right now, the Baltimore Ravens, and not only against the hottest team, one of the hottest players in Lamar Jackson. Now, they didn't shut him down completely. He still was able to do certain things, but their defense is so good. They don't get enough credit. They are very good in the run. And a lot of teams that can play the run very well can slow down Lamar Jackson enough. Look, yes, he's having a better passing year, right? I give him credit for that. And am I hating on him a little bit? It might sound like that, maybe so. I just don't believe in him all the way. But what the Bengals were able to do was just, look, we're not going to give up these big plays. We're not going to let him just scamper around. We're going to keep him in front of us. We're not going to make him throw the ball down the field as much as he wants to. We're going to let him just nickel and dime it. And that's exactly what they did. Now, it was a good game. It was a good win. They pulled away in the end. And the Bengals, to me, man, look, I'm not going to say they're going to be in the Super Bowl, right? Because I don't think that they're not that good enough yet. Maybe they might be better. But Joe Burrow played a hell of a game. And Jamar Chase, a guy who we thought in the beginning of the year was like dropping balls in the preseason, now he's caught like over 700 yards in his first 7 or 8 games as a rookie, right? So the LSU wide receiving core looking pretty solid in the NFL. Now, a lot of people thought, including myself, they should have went and drafted Penei Sewell out of Oregon to help protect Joe Burrow. But the Jamar Chase pick is looking pretty solid right now, actually better than solid. So their offense is really good. They got weapons to throw to. The tight end Uzoma, I think his name was. He had an excellent game, but I can't say much more about Joe Burrow. He's playing really well. Their defense is good. They're one of the top run defenses in the National Football League, for those who don't know. And if you can stop the run, it helps out your defense so much, man. And as a football coach, I know that when you can stop the run, when you're getting gashed and you can't stop the run, guess what's coming next? The play action. And it's hard to stop that. That's why you have to be able to stop the run. And most defensive teams that are really good can stop the run, because that's the heart of football. You got to be able to run the football, and they're balanced. And so I won't say that I don't know if they're going to win the division. I still think that the Ravens will have something to say about it, but they're definitely not going to finish last. The Steelers are going to win that award, because I don't see any hope for them. But I had the Steelers being third anyway. I had the Browns winning the division, if I'm not mistaken. I think that then the Ravens, and then Steelers and Bengals. But I think the Bengals are in a position right now because we don't know what's going on in Cleveland as well with Baker Mayfield's situation. Obviously, he's got the shoulder injury. Case Keenum came in. They eked out a win against the lowly Broncos. So we're going to see what happens with them. This division is, I would say, still wide open, but that was a very big win, a very good, not a good win, a great win, especially on the road against a hot team and a hot player in Lamar Jackson, who's arguably one of the front runners for MVP right now going into end of this week. So, excuse me. The Bengals they're in business, and it's good to see the Bengals, man, back in business. I mean, listen, they are a team, an organization that has really just not have a lot of success. I mean, in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, I know they made a Super Bowl years ago with Chris Collinsworth and Boomer Esiason, and they ended up losing to the San Francisco 49ers. And then the year they had Carson Palmer and they were playing the Steelers, and then Carson Palmer tears his ACL in the playoff game. That was a good team. Who knows what would have happened if Carson Palmer stayed healthy? They might have went on a run, And ever since then, they had Marvin Lewis for so long. They were never able to find that good quarterback. Maybe they got their guy now in Joe Burrow. And we're going to see what happens with them. But they've always been a team, they had some years where they were in the playoffs, but they never won the big game. They kept losing. So it's good to see them. It's good to see them be good and actually competing in this division where I thought that they were going to be left for dead, but they proved me wrong for sure. Absolutely. So it's good to see that. So I'm happy for them. I don't know when it's gonna look like, because we still got a lot of games left in the season. But right now, I mean, their ability to score, they can put up points on the board and they can stop the run. And that's big. And that's definitely big. So shout out to them for beating the Ravens yesterday. And I look forward to seeing what they're going to do the rest of the year, because they might make some noise. You never know. You never know what's going to happen down there. So we'll see. All right. Moving right along, we're going to jump into the NBA. We got some early headlines. Now, some of the headlines you're going to see that are not that uncommon, right? We're going to talk about Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and then some other two that I want to kind of touch base on. Maybe you were thinking about it, or maybe you weren't. So here they are right here. Ben Simmons and the 76ers. I mean, we've heard a lot about this in the last couple of weeks with him. Hold on one second. Had to get some water there. We've heard a lot about him and his trials and tribulations, wanting, especially right after the season. The comments were made by Doc Rivers. They asked, could he be a player they could win a championship with? Doc Rivers didn't really want to answer, which in his fantasy, they had just lost. So, of course, he's not thinking about that right now. Ben Simmons took that probably a certain way. And then, the feud that he has with Joel Embiid, that whole thing. So, my thoughts on this, because I know a lot of people have weighed in on this, and this is my first time because I've been kind of incognito the last couple of weeks or so about this. But, first of all, the 76ers kind of blew this. Anytime you get someone that's disgruntled like this, and we've seen it time in and time out in the NBA, you got to get rid of the guy, man. You got to get rid of him. Holding on to him really does not benefit you because he doesn't want to be there, period. Now, they've come out and said, he's going to be out indefinitely. He's dealing with some mental health issues. There's nothing wrong with this guy. He doesn't want to be a 76er. I bet you if the Lakers or somebody, say a team like the Lakers, have the draft capital to come get this guy, his attitude would change pretty quickly. I'll tell you that right now. But he doesn't want to play with Joel Embiid. And honestly, I probably wouldn't want to either. I mean, I like Joel Embiid, but he talks a lot. And guys that talk a lot, to me, don't ever really produce that much. Solid player, but Ben Simmons, obviously, was he the reason they lost in the playoffs last year? He had some games. He had some situations. But honestly, too, they're just not a championship caliber team. I mean, as simple as that. And if you have a guy that doesn't want to play for you, just move on with him. Try to get some capital. You saw the Pelicans try to do that, which I'll talk about them here shortly because I got some stuff to say about them. But get something for him because at the end of the day, he don't want to be there. I know he's got some years left on him, and the GM there, Daryl Morley, he's dug in, and he doesn't want to just give in like most GMs do. Like most GMs do when a superstar starts to throw a tirade. But at this point, man, look, he's more of a liability to your team than he is an asset. Because every day you come in, they're going to be talking about, well, what's going on with Ben? What's going on with Ben? You start asking the players. And if you get Joel Embiid on camera again, he's going to say some kind of outlandish stuff. 1 minute, he's like, I don't care what this guy does. And then the next minute, oh, well, that's our brother. He's our team. Like, it's like, make up your mind. Do you like the guy or not? Ben Simmons don't like you. So let's just move on from that. Where I would like to see him go, I mean, there's a plethora of teams. Obviously, I would like to see him in a Laker uniform, but I don't think that'll happen because they don't have the draft capital. No one wants some old ass players that the Lakers have, unfortunately. But there's some other teams, some contending teams. Maybe you see him in Brooklyn. Maybe he goes to Brooklyn. You get Kyrie, which would probably work better for Joel Embiid. You get a point guard / shooter who can spread the court. You can play pick and roll with Joel Embiid, pick and pop, right? Maybe. I don't know, right? Maybe Portland Trailblazers. Maybe they want to move on from Damian Lillard, which honestly, I would love to see Damian Lillard out of Portland, anywhere but Portland. Or maybe, you get a CJ McCollum. There's definitely opportunities and teams out there that you can trade this guy for. But the longer this goes on, other teams will say, you know what, we're just going to ride it out. We'll wait till the offseason again. Because if you're going to hold on to him, we'll just wait because eventually you're going to release him. And why would we give up anything for this guy? Ben Simmons is a great player. He's a great he's a great defender, one of the elite defenders in the NBA, if not the best defender in all of the NBA, right? And for his size, he's a big point guard, right? His ball handling a bit. Now he can't shoot. We know that. We can't shoot at all. But his ability to attack and drive in the lane is tremendous. So what team would not want to have a guy like that, right? Do you want him on the free throw line in the game? Hell no, you don't. But if you pair him with another guy that can help carry the load, why not? So, if I'm one of these teams that's kind of borderline fringe, like a playoff team, maybe a contender, why not looking to see what Philly wants? But then again, Philly is known. I mean, they definitely have the leverage right now because he's not playing and the season's early. But as this goes on and he doesn't play, teams are going to be like, we're just going to wait it out. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation. So that's my thoughts on that. I think I'm old school. I feel like if you have a contract, you honor the contract. That's how I think. But I get it. This is a new era, a new world, a new NBA that we're living in. Guys don't do that. So it is what it is, right? So, all right. Kyrie Irving and the Nets. I mean, look, we all know Kyrie is Kyrie. He arguably could have gone down as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. His handling, his finishing at the rim is just stupendous. One of the best to ever do it. But his mindset is just all wrong, man. And I get it. He has the free freedom to not get the vaccine, which I totally get. I respect anyone that does want to get it, and I respect anyone that doesn't want to get it. At first I wasn't really for the vaccine. I ended up getting it anyway because at the end of the day, this is what it boiled down to. I was like, you know what? Sporting events may require it. It's going to be more of a hassle for me to just be like, well, I can't go to this event because I have to be vaccinated. That's the only reason why I got it. Do I believe in it? Not necessarily. And that's my opinion, right? If you believe in it, that's great. That's your opinion. I don't have no qualms about that. But at the end of the day, he's in the NBA. He's getting paid to play a game. They're paying you to be a member of this team. Get the shot and move on, bro. I'm not getting paid $1 million and I went and got the shot. It's one thing if he didn't act the way he does in previous experiences, you give him the benefit of the doubt. But because of his antics before, his disregard for not being a really good teammate, because let's be real, he is not a good teammate. He sucks as a teammate. I would not want him to be on my team. And the fact that Kevin Durant wanted to hitch his wagon to this guy blows my mind. Kevin Durant's very lucky that the Brooklyn Nets were able to trade for James Harden, because if not, he would be stuck right now by himself in Brooklyn without Kyrie. Anybody that hitches their wagon to Kyrie Irving, you definitely need to go get your head checked, because this guy is not mentally stable. He will screw you over because he's only about himself. And I know Stephen A got into some hot water with some other people because he called him selfish. And I think he is kind of selfish. You play a team sport. People are relying on you. People's jobs may be relying on you, right? If the Nets don't win, because you're a part of this. You're a great player. They need you to win. But because you don't believe in it, but here's the thing. You play in a private entity. The NBA is not a public entity. It's private. They make the rules. They can do what they want to do. If they say you have to be vaccinated, if you feel it's stupid, then retire. If not, shut the hell up and just play at this point. I'm tired of the athletes today being activists. I'm not saying that they're wrong for feeling the way they feel, but look, at the end of the day, we don't pay money to see you guys talk about the world news. We see you to put the ball in the hole. We see you to score the touchdown. We see you make the play. That's what we pay you to see. That's what we pay you to do. And if I'm a season ticket holder and I'm a Kyrie Irving fan, I don't care about how you feel about the vaccine. What I care about is that I paid such and such amount of dollars to see you play because my kid loves you, and now you don't want to play. And I'm not going to get a reimbursement because you're not playing. I still have to pay the Nets. So, the Nets, to me, again, trade them, get rid of them. Somebody will take him. Maybe, I don't know. Because at this point, he's no good to you. He's dead weight. He's another guy that they're going to ask, well, what's going on with him? And you have to keep answering questions about him. So I would definitely say move off of Kyrie Irving, because he's not a guy you can build a team around. He's not a leader. And I get it. He played with LeBron. He didn't like LeBron taking all the shine. So he moves on to Boston. Doesn't like it there. And now he leaves. Now he's in Brooklyn. Now he's complaining about something else. So this guy, it's just too much with him. It's just way too much. And I'm done with Kyrie Irving. I wish they would just move on from him. So, it is what it is. All right. A next headline. And like I said, there's so many headlines, but these are the ones that just came to my mind when I was creating this segment. Zion or Ja Morant? A lot of people love Zion Williamson. I don't see the fascination. He's 300 pounds. And he's not a big man. He's not tall. This guy will probably be, I won't say out of the NBA, and I think he hasn't played any minutes yet in the NBA this season. He's inactive. And what's the deal with that? He hasn't led his team, and he's supposed to be this God's gift to basketball. And I get it. He's explosive. He's a big man that can bounce, but he's a great dunker, but he's always out of shape. They have him listed at 285, but the guy looks 300 pounds. If you see him on really, he's 300 pounds, man. And his frame cannot support that type of weight. And not only cannot support that type of weight, the movements that he makes. If I had to pick this draft over again, I'm taking Ja Morant number one. Why? Ja Morant, since he's been in the league, has gotten his team at least to a playing game, which is somewhat of a playoff tournament, a playoff game, and then the playoffs in his first 2 years as a pro. He's a much far better shooter. He's not injury prone. He's going to give you 40 plus minutes a night. Where Zion, he's not going to play all 52 games, and he's on a minutes restriction, and he's overweight. Yeah, you look at the box score, it's great, right? But most of those points are in the paint, inside the paint, second chance points. I'm not saying he's not gifted. He is gifted. He is talented. He's worthy of a number one pick in the NBA. He doesn't like New Orleans, and kind of he has like this Kawhi Leonard syndrome where he has like someone that's kind of doing the talking for him, and they're going to try to work their way out of New Orleans. And now New Orleans has handled the handling of him has been terrible, right? And you would think they would have figured it out when they had AD for so long, and they haven't. Zion Williamson will not be in a Pelicans uniform in the next 2 years. Mark my words, he'll be gone. Two things: he'll get traded, he'll be out of there, or he's going to get hurt and he's going to leave, and no one will want him. So someone will want him. He's still a talent, but he can't shoot. He's kind of a liability on defense for the most part, from what I've seen. I'm taking Ja Morant all the way. And I just watched Ja Morant last night against the Lakers. The guy went for 31. I mean, he's gifted. He can dunk. He's great with the ball. He's fast. He can cut. I'm taking Ja Morant all the way. And if you think I'm wrong, I mean, I would love to talk to you about it, because I don't think Zion Williamson will be around in the next 5-6 years, or he won't be as relevant. I think Ja Morant his ceiling is a lot higher than Zion Williamson. I think we've seen what Zion Williamson is going to be. Now, if Zion goes into the offseason, cuts 20, 25, 30 pounds, comes in at like 265, 270-ish, I can see him maybe doing something. But the rate that he's going, he's 300 pounds plus. He's not going to last in the NBA, man. He just won't. His knees are going to start to just fall and fail on him. His feet, all that. So I just don't see it. All right, last headline too. How the West will be won. The Western Conference is loaded again. Now, Washington Lakers last night, not that certain that they're going to just run away with this thing. Now, they dropped their first two games. They lost to the Phoenix Suns, the defending Western Conference champions. And then their first game, they lost to Golden State Warriors, who is a team that is on the come. I really like what the Warriors are going to be looking like. Steph Curry did not even play well in that first game, and they still pulled it out. And they don't even have guys like James Wiseman back, right? But the younger guys that they have, like Poole, guys like that, Draymond Green is still an excellent player in this league. But nonetheless, who is going to win the West? I don't know. On paper, you look at the Lakers, you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course. LeBron, AD. But watching those first two games were crucial for me as a viewer, as a Laker fan, because I wanted to see how would they play against the top teams in the West. Now, obviously, the Warriors, did they make the? They were in the play-in game. I think they didn't make it, but they had some injuries down the stretch last year. But now they're healthy. Klay Thompson will be back eventually at some point. That team is going to be very dangerous, because why? They shoot the ball and they have ball movement, which is something the Lakers do not do. The Lakers are going to basically say, you know what? We're going to come down the court. We're going to play one-on-one, and we're going to try to beat you with a matchup. And we're going to try to play defense in the paint, because we don't have enough perimeter defenders to guard you guys. So we're going to hope that you miss more than you make the threes or the jumpers, and we're going to try to out-rebound you. And they still got out-rebounded by the Suns on, I believe it was Friday night at Staples Center. And then you look at Denver, a team, Jamal Murray will be back. The current reigning MVP, Jokic, he's looking like he's back in form. One thing about the West, you don't have, there's some great players. There's some really well-known players, but you look at the Lakers, just in their starting five, you got 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, right? But they're not young. They don't play enough defense. LeBron picks and chooses now when he wants to play. AD, we don't know what. AD sometimes forgets he's a big man. He likes to play with his front facing to the basket instead of his back to the basket, where he's a lot more effective, but that's not the game that they want to play. Now, Portland will be whatever Portland is. They're always going to be a middle of the road team in the West, because they can only go so far with Damian Lillard trying to carry that team. The Grizzlies should probably take the next jump. But honestly, right now, the Suns, the Nuggets, and I believe the Warriors are the top 3 teams in just the first week. It's early, and maybe the Lakers will figure it out. And I get it's a lot of chemistry issues. They didn't play a lot together in the preseason. They're older players. That preseason is like not their forte, and I get it. But the Lakers have a common flaw, and is that they don't move the ball well on offense, and they don't have enough shooting. Now, Carmelo came in last night, was clutch. But at the end of the day, they don't have enough shooting. And in the NBA, you gotta be able to shoot 3-pointers. And if you don't shoot 3-pointers in this modern NBA, you don't win a lot of games. You don't win a lot of games. So I'll just have to say that, you know, the Suns are probably my front running team, because if you watch them play, they play very team oriented basketball. They play really good defense and they can shoot the three. So those are my early NBA headlines, man. As we move forward, I mean, obviously this will change over the time of the season, but those are some things I want you guys to start thinking about and let me know what you think about. So, and I'm glad I talked about the Lakers because I want to touch base on them now. So early trouble now in LA. We saw AD and Dwight Howard got into it Friday night in the Suns game. Is that a big problem? Is that something we need to overreact to? Yes and no. There's definitely this bunch of characters. It's definitely a bunch of characters. We all know Dwight Howard isn't the most mature player. Rondo is kind of a ticking time bomb at some point as well. LeBron, to me, you know, I've always said this. I like him. He's good, but I don't believe him as a leader. I think he pretends to be a leader, if that makes any sense. Because a lot of times he does stuff that leaders shouldn't do. So is there a leadership problem? I don't know. And then you gotta throw Russ in there, who's like a complete alpha dog, right? You know, uh, besides his funny, choice for attire in his wardrobe, is he going to be able to put up with some of this stuff too? Because he has some of his antics as well, especially on the court in his decision making in the game. So, with Dwight and AD fighting, I mean, we all know AD is the second in command there on that team. LeBron is first in command. Is this going to be a problem down the stretch? I don't know, man. I think Dwight and AD have been on a team together, so they've been around each other. So I'm not sure. That just could have been guys just competing, two alpha males wanting to win. One guy got another guy's face, and of course, the other guy's not going to back down from that. So we'll see. But is it going to be just a runaway for the Lakers? No, it's not. And we've seen that in the hell. They could have lost last night, and the Grizzlies were down Dylan Brooks. He didn't even play, right? So mind you, they're going to struggle a lot against younger, quicker teams because they don't have guys. Rondo is not the same defender he once was before. Westbrook is okay, I guess. LeBron doesn't play nearly the defense he used to play anymore, So, the Lakers to me, they're going to win a lot of games because they have good talent. But when it comes to the playoffs, will they have enough? And can guys like AD stay healthy? Can LeBron stay healthy in a full season? Because if not, then they're screwed. So, as a Laker fan, I don't want to say they're going to come out and make the Western Conference Final because I just don't see that, especially now in the modern NBA. But definitely, they're going to win. So, they're good enough right now to be the third or fourth best team in the West right now. Now, unless I see some incredible improvement, but the way the offense is ran, there's no flow. You watch other teams, the ball is moving from all over the court. All you see is LeBron dribbling, pounding the ball, drive, and kicking into somebody who can't shoot. So they got lucky last night. Carmelo got hot, and they were able to win the game. So early trouble in LA, yeah, I would say so. They're 1-2. It's still early. It's no time to hit the panic button, but definitely this team was, again, not constructed. And people say, well, they won the bubble. They won in the championship. Well, yeah, they kind of got lucky. And I'm being real as a Laker fan. They kind of got lucky. When the pandemic hit, they kind of got a reset. LeBron got to heal up. AD didn't have to play a full season and get hurt, right? And they didn't have to go on the road and play in opposing arenas. Could they have won the NBA championship? Who knows? Maybe. But they benefited from that bubble championship. I mean, nonetheless, they won it. I'm happy for that as a Laker fan. But to me, it's one of those championships I'm kind of like, they won it, but didn't really mean much. I mean, it meant something, but it's not like, they won it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Maybe. So I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say, but definitely something to keep your eye on, see how they're going to progress as the season goes on. So, all right. Before I get out of here, man, I got to do my clutch, not so much. I got a lot of clutch tonight. Shout out to Carmelo Anthony, 28 points. He was 6 for 8 from the 3-point line. I believe he was 15 for 18 from the floor. Came up big. They needed all 28 of his points last night to beat the Memphis Grizzlies in a close one. So big shout out to him. He was clutch. Not so clutch. Denver Broncos, they dropped their 4th game in a row. Carolina Panthers dropped their 4th game in a row. Miami Dolphins dropped their 5th game in a row. So these teams not looking good, not clutch. And honestly, all 3 of these teams should be in the hunt for Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure, I thought Sam Darnold was going to look better in Carolina. he doesn't look much better, man. He's still doing the same stuff, still throwing the ball to the wrong team, making the wrong reads. And they gave this guy an extension. That's the crazy thing about it. So he's going to be there. But if I'm Carolina, I got to find a way to get into the Deshaun Watson race because we can't go on with Sam Darnold. Denver Broncos too. They chose Teddy Bridgewater over Drew Lock, which again, their defense is good, I guess, but you need a quarterback. And they had an opportunity to take a quarterback. They didn't. They went ahead and got a corner in the first round. That's not working out for them. They also are in need of a quarterback as well. Miami Dolphins, so much promise going into the season. A lot of people losing confidence in head coach Brian Flores. Tua can play in the NFL, but he's not the guy. He'll probably be a backup. They also are in need of a quarterback and Deshaun Watson as well. So, those three teams right now are probably looking in the mirror like, damn, we should have probably went quarterback, especially the Dolphins and the Broncos because they had high picks. They were at least, I think Carolina was in the top 10 too. So, they could at least gotten at least Justin Fields out of these three teams, but they didn't. They decided to go with the guys that they wanted, and it's working out for them just fine, right? It's not okay. And I talked about him earlier today. Clutch, shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals, man, going on the road in a hostile environment against a hot team in the Baltimore Ravens and defeating them. That's a good win for them. I won't say much more about them because I already said enough about them. And finally, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, they are 3-0 as of tonight. They're looking good, and they're still missing Klay Thompson, who was snubbed as a top 75 player in the NBA in the last 75 years, which I don't know how. There are a lot of guys on that list that didn't make it, like Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady didn't make that list. So Klay Thompson, I can see why, but was he better than Tracy McGrady? No. If Tracy McGrady is not on the top 75, Klay Thompson to me should not be in the 75. So, but shout out to the Golden State Warriors overall, looking pretty good. Like I said, they're one of the top teams in the West for me right now, as the first week goes on. So we'll see. Hopefully, barring no injuries, and they should be right on track to keep pace and maybe make a deep run in the playoffs this year. So, but anyway, that's all I got, man. Monday Night Football just kicked off against the Seattle Seahawks at home against the New Orleans Saints. So I'm going to go ahead and slide over and watch that game real quick before I tend to some other business. So I appreciate you guys for hanging in there. Make sure to be on the lookout for me Sunday. I'm going to try to get back on live and do my prime time my pregame show in the morning on Sunday morning. So be on the lookout for that right here on YouTube, Facebook, live. But other than that, go subscribe to me right now, man. Hit that notification link on YouTube, man. It'll be one of the best decisions you ever made. So I appreciate everyone that you've been watching. If you're watching, didn't comment, that's fine too. You're just watching. That's cool. I appreciate that. Next time you'll get on there and drop a comment. But other than that, that is all I got. I'm out of here. You guys enjoy your evening. This is Clutch Sports Talk Live with me, Ryan Flowers. Never settle till the work is done. Peace out.